Alright, welcome everyone to another live stream. I'm your host Aaron Taylor, and today is an extra special live stream because we are exploring a local small business here in Palm Springs, California. It is the Gree Coffee Shop located on the downtown strip, and we're going to be exploring the coffee that they have to offer. And the coffee that they are supplied by is roasted by the Klatch roasting company. And I've did a little preview the other day for myself, and it is some really good coffee. It's got packs a strong punch, and so we're going to explore the flavor notes that we get from the coffee that they call the Crazy Goat. And then after the coffee tasting, we're going to explore how this coffee got the name the Crazy Goat and a little bit more about that. So thank you guys for joining me today. If you guys are joining me for the first time, welcome. Thank you guys for joining me. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. That would be awesome. That helps me make more content on this channel in the future. And if you guys are returning, welcome back. And if you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, hit that like and subscribe button, please. That really helps me make more content. And if you guys are here for the first time, just so you know, I like to brew my coffee on this channel two different ways, the French press and the pour over. And so the reason why I do that is so that we can really explore the different flavor notes that we get from different brew methods. So the flavor notes that we get from a French press versus a pour over are going to vary widely. And the reason why that is because of the amount of sediments or oils that makes its way through the filter is different on the pour over and the French press, and so it's going to impact the flavor a little bit more. So the French press, we're going to see more bitters generally. Sometimes we get a little bit more of that bright acidic flavor coming through, but on the pour over you generally get those really bright flavors because a lot of that sediment gets held back, and so you're getting a lot less of those bitters, especially if you're have like a dark chocolate bitter flavor notes in your coffee. The the paper filter is going to really pull a lot of that back. So with this particular coffee, this coffee has flavor notes of dark chocolate and toffee nut. And so it's going to have some really dark flavors, especially on the French press, because those toffee nut flavors are going to be a little bit on the bitter side because it's going to be on the French press, and we're going to have a lot of those sediment flavors. While on the pour over, I'm assuming those toffee nut flavors are going to be a little bit of a bright acidic flavors that we're going to see in the pour over cup. So this coffee comes from the Gree Coffee House downtown Palm Springs, just on the strip. So if you guys normally just go to one single coffee shop, if it's Starbucks, definitely stop by this place. It's really cool. They've got a whole lot of cool stuff on the inside, a whole lot of cool vinyl records, and then they also support the local artists by doing open mics and poetry readings, and then just displaying local art. So that's really cool. So this is like our part on supporting the local business and really exploring the coffee outside of the walls of Starbucks, and just like fully completing our coffee journey, because we can't fully explore all the coffee without visiting the occasional hole in the wall, and so that's important. So I'm actually really excited to try this coffee on the French press because I think it's going to end up with a more balanced flavor. because with the pour over, you get a lot more of those bright acidic flavors that come through. It has like a different impact on the palate of your tongue. And so I already tried it with the pour over the other day just to get kind of a taste test. And it is a really, really good cup of coffee. A nice punch. Got some those bright toffee nut flavors. That's almost like a semi-sweet flavor. Like if you added like some brown sugar or some like raw sugars to this cup of coffee, it would really bring forward those toffee nut flavors and die down that milk or the dark chocolate bitterness, and really make for the pour over a really really good cup of coffee, because you could really taste those bright toffee nut flavors in this one. But with the French press, I'm assuming it's gonna make for a more balanced cup. So those bright toffee nut flavors are going to be more balanced with the dark chocolate flavors. So it's gonna be not so bright. All right, so this coffee is almost done. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me on today's special coffee tasting. This is just the beginning of us exploring the local coffee shops around town. And then we eventually plan on expanding out beyond the California eventually. Go on tour and start exploring all the different local coffee shops, featuring their coffees that they have to offer, and really talk about like the where their coffee comes from and the origin of that specific blend and brew, and then learn how that particular coffee got its name, which we're about to learn how the Crazy Goat became the Crazy Goat and where that name comes from. Very interesting story. Very important story as well. All right, so it looks like our pour over is just about done. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do with my pour overs, I'm going to go ahead and sniff the coffee, uh, try and see what kind of aromas I'm getting from it. So with this coffee, I'm definitely getting the dark chocolate notes, and then I'm getting like that toffee nut sweetness aroma as well. So it doesn't smell too intense dark, but it does have that darkness to it. All right. That is really good. So immediately right off the bat, we're getting those bright toffee nut flavors on the sides of our tongue, and then we get that bitter dark chocolate mouthfeel in the center of our tongue as the toffee nut brightness washes away, and then we're left with that dark chocolate bitterness that kind of sits on your tongue for a little bit. It doesn't linger on too much. It's actually quite subtle. That is really good. Um, the bright acidicness of the bright topping up flavors really wash away pretty quick, and you're left with that dark chocolate mouthfeel towards the center of your tongue. And then even that washes away pretty quick. It doesn't linger on. It doesn't attach to your tongue. So you're not left with like a overwhelming, intense flavor. So that's a very very good coffee. All right. So now we are going to try the French press. With the French press, I'm actually excited for the French press. I think I'm going to like the French press much, much more than I like the pour over. But we will find out right now. So with this coffee on the French press, I'm actually smelling a lot more of those bright acidic notes from the aroma right off the bat. That's what I'm getting right now is those bright, bright notes. Wow. Okay. So this one is substantially smoother on the French press than on the pour over. So with the pour over, you get that initial kick of that bright acidic flavor, and then it washes away, and then you get that dark chocolate mouthfeel at the end. With this cup of coffee, it's all happening at the same time on the French press. So we're getting the dark chocolate flavor notes with the bright acidic flavors of the bright toffee nut acidity that's coming through all together. So it's very balanced. I think it's crazy how all these coffee tastings that I've done recently that I found that the French press consistently makes for a more balanced cup of coffee. There are some of them where they tend to be a little bit more on the bitter side, or like too bold, or even some of them come out like super bright and acidic, and it's almost surprising. Um, but generally, the French press makes for a well balanced cup of coffee, and then really helps those flavors balance each other out so that the acidicness or the bitterness isn't too overwhelming, and they just kind of like help each other out. So that's really nice. I really like the French press. The pour over is still really good on the Crazy Goat, but the I definitely prefer the French press. That is a really good cup of coffee. And so this particular coffee is a Latin American blend, and so it's a blend between different Latin American coffees, and so that's why we get those dark chocolate notes, and then we get a little bit of like those toffee nut notes too. So when you get Latin American coffees, you tend to get milk chocolate, dark chocolate, or nutty caramely notes. And so that's why we're getting that dark chocolate notes with the toffee nut sweetness. And when we say toffee nut sweetness, it's not necessarily sweet. It's just what we mean by sweet is it brings out some of that bright acidicness, and that bright flavor of the toffee nut kind of gives it a sweet flavor contrast compared to the bitter flavors of the dark chocolate that we're getting on the opposite spectrum. And so it's not actually sweet, but it's sweet compared to the bitter flavors that we're getting in there. And that's what we're gonna see with those bright acidic flavors is that sweet toffee nut. And like I said with the pour over, if you add some raw sugar because of the raw sugar's profile, it's really going to help bring forward some of those toffee nut flavors. So if you do want to add sugar to this particular cup of coffee, I would definitely go with raw sugar just because it's got like that almost that mapley syrup quality to it. Really good. All right, you guys. So the Crazy Goat. The Crazy Goat is a coffee served by the Klatch Roasting Company. It is a company that provides coffee. You can order coffee online fairly easy by the pound. They even have like single serving little tea bags of coffee as well. Pretty interesting. I actually did not know that existed until I explored their website. I mean, it obviously was a thing, but I just never thought about it. I mean, it's kind of what a K cup is, but in a cup form. Um, but so that's served by this. It's a different roasting company, and they have tons of different coffee to offer. So we're going to definitely explore some more of those coffees and see what kind of different flavors that Klatch has to offer. But today we are tasting the Crazy Goat, and so with the Crazy Goat, it is actually named after a goat herder who is named Caldi, and roughly a little over 1,000 years ago, around 1000 AD, is when Caldi and his goats discovered coffee. It's one of the first documented discoveries of the coffee bean or the effects of coffee. And so Caldi was out herding his sheep, and he noticed one day that when his not his sheep, I'm sorry, you guys, was herding his goats, and he noticed that his goats would get elated after eating from this particular cherry bush. And so he thought to himself, just like any smart person would do, is, hey, I'm going to taste those cherries. And so he actually went ahead and ate some of the cherries from this cherry bush and noticed that he got an extra boost of energy. And so, thus was the first documented discovery of the coffee bean. And so, that is why this coffee is called the Crazy Goat, is because the first documented discovery is by a goat herder by the name of Kaldi. And it was eaten by a goat. So, Kaldi and his goats are the discovery of the first coffee cherries, and so this is the origin of all coffee. All coffee comes from Ethiopia. So if you have a coffee that comes from Latin America, Indonesia, Central America, uh, anything like that, Hawaii, Jamaica, all of that originates from Ethiopia, and every coffee has a story to tell. And so that's what we do here is we explore the stories of the coffee, and we are exploring the stories of the Crazy Goat and the small coffee shop local here in downtown Palm Springs. Really, really good coffee. I would definitely recommend the Crazy Goat, that is for sure. And if you guys plan on visiting Palm Springs, I would definitely suggest stopping by the Crazy Goat, or I'm sorry, you guys, not the Crazy Goat, Greek Coffee House, which is downtown Palm Springs on the Strip, and they offer the Crazy Goat or any Klatch coffee. And then it's really cool. They're a very artistic oriented business, so they do open mic nights. I'm not sure if they're doing that right now during COVID, but I know that they're definitely planning on getting back to it if they haven't. And then they also support the local artists. And then also, what's really cool is there's a special sightseeing spot right out front where if you go visit them during sundown, they have this special telescope that you look through, that makes you look at the mountain and you get to see the features of Abraham Lincoln in the side of the mountain. So that's like one of the special like sightseeing features right outside of their store. But more importantly is the fact that they're supporting the local businesses and that this is a small a small local business that we're supporting here on the show, and that we're exploring where their coffee comes from and the origin of it as well. That is really really good. I like the French press coffee over the pour over. The pour over is still really really smooth, you guys. But if you like a more balanced cup of coffee, I would definitely go for the French press if you have a French press available. If not, the pour over definitely works. Awesome. That is really really good. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining in today's coffee tasting. I hope you guys enjoyed tasting Klatch coffee and learning a little bit about the local businesses here in Palm Springs. This is just the beginning of us exploring the local businesses here, so we're going to be exploring a lot more of them in the future. This Friday, we're going to be tasting the Sumatra coffee by Starbucks, and then next Tuesday, we're going to be tasting coffee by Ristretto. So join us this Friday for Sumatra, and then next Tuesday for a coffee by Ristretto. And we're going to learn where they get their coffee from, and we're going to learn a little bit about their coffee as well. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Thanks again. Have a great day.